So hi Shane, how are you today?
Good. Beth, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
Of course. Yeah, I loved Murder Company, so I'm really excited to talk to you about it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, of course. So first off, how did you become involved with this film?
I've worked with the producer, Richard Switzer before, and I just kind of let it, I've done quite a few action films and just let it be known that I wanted to do a World War II film or war film. And I've been offered several, but this was the first one that really stood out and like it just felt like a story that needed to be told. And Kelsey Grammer was already on board, so that made it that much easier of a decision. But no, it was an honor to tell the story that meant so much to so many people.
That's awesome. So what was it about this one that really made you go, yes, this is the time to do my military film?
So my grandfather was General Patton's aide, and like this was on the cover of like Time magazine, and this is my grandfather on Normandy.
Oh wow.
So this was I was during COVID. I found this magazine and saw it. I was like, oh, that's my grandfather, and I've seen this picture my whole life. So with this story, without this group of soldiers, because there's one Nazi that was going in and destroying all the roads and all the bridges, and if it weren't for this ragtag group of U.S. soldiers that and with his Frenchmen to come together to take him out, we wouldn't have been able. My grandfather and others like him wouldn't have been able to get off the beaches. I mean, they were going in. You couldn't get a tank or jeeps or soldiers if they destroyed a bridge. So it was such an important story that's never been told, and I just felt like this was the time to tell it, and I'm honored to be the one that was chosen.
That's awesome. Yeah, so with it being based on true events, can you explain kind of how we came to know about this particular story, especially when like in the trailer and in the film, it says like not a whole lot's known about it.
Yeah, Jesse Middleston, who the writer of the story, I mean, he really did his research. He went in and you know wrote a fantastic script, but he studied this. I mean, he knows. I mean, more than I could ever even begin to know about war, and through old clippings or interviewing people on his own, and just brought it all together. The only thing that I kind of brought in, because I'm a writer too, is I wanted to tell the backstory. So a lot of the backstories with these characters within the film, whether it's one of the characters just had a baby, or another one has kids and wives and whatnot. That was the actors' personal stories that their grandfathers or grandmothers were dealing with. So I let them add that to it, because there's nothing worse than like you see a war film and you're like, oh, they're just there and they're going to die and or they're going to live or whatever, and you don't really care about them. Where this one, if someone died, you're like, wow, they're going to widow someone or leave a child without a father. So it was important to me to tell, to create backstories for all these characters.
Yeah, I noticed that now that you mention it, it's like you're right. Like we kind of don't get to know these people outside of the collective of the US military. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and I wanted that, but also like when one of our, any of the characters die, then it means something to them. Like they want, it's not just like, oh, all right, so and so died, and we're just let's keep moving. Where it hits each of these guys personally, and there's a few deaths because it is a war film, so it means it hurts, because they become like brothers and family. So it's important to show that, because we're all human, and you live through something like that. You want the same, them to do the same thing for you. Heaven forbid if you were to die at war.
Right. Right. Um, so with this being a story that is not commonly known, for you, why is it important that we bring this to light and tell people about it?
I think with this film or any other war films, there's just a lot of division within the world, like whether it's politics or religion or whatever it may be. That this one we have like we can all come together and be supportive of our military, but also we have like there was a common enemy. I mean, back then the Nazis, the Germans. That was so we can all, no matter what side you fall on politically or religiously, whatever it may be, to come together for a film like this or any other war film. You know, people you can show up in the theater on July 5th and you can feel it together. Like you could cry or be happy or cheer or laugh, whatever it may be, together. And I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to war films. I mean, of course, there's the action set pieces and whatnot, but it's also like we can all, you know, we can all root for the same, for the same thing, for these people to live and complete their missions.
For sure. I agree with that. That's definitely why I like them.
Yeah.
Um, what was it like working with your cast?
It was amazing. I've known Pooch Hall and Jalone Vanover for 20, 25 years, those two. So I've worked with Jalone many times. Pooch, I've wanted to work together. And Joe Anderson, we had mutual friends, and Kelsey was the only one on board, but I was the one who I hired the cast. I brought them together. And William Mosley, when his name came about, I was like, yeah. But also I want to talk to all these guys and say, look, like you're like a brotherhood and want your family. So talk to all these people, create your backstories, but also, excuse me, I wanted to them to come together and just feel it. So every day we would, they came in early and I would go show them the sets first and here's what's going on. But every day at the end of set, we'd ride to set together. But also at the end, we'd have dinner or drinks. And on weekends, we would go tour the city around. And that was always something we would all bring up, like, hey, we're going to a movie. If anybody's off, come join me. We're having dinner. And then, a couple of the actors, their characters die, but they would go home. We would FaceTime them at the end of a day and just say, hey, wish you were here. And this is what we shot today. And it was a true family. And, I've been on a lot of sets and, you can have one bad egg and then it's like brings everybody down. But this is one where there were no egos. I mean, there were certain action scenes where everybody wants their big action moment. And I mean, there one particular one where one sequence was supposed to happen with one actor. He said, no, this makes more sense if so-and-so does it and it happens to them. And, you know, that's a trailer moment and it's in the trailer. It's like, it should have been one actor and they chose because they thought it made more sense for their character to do this one particular thing. So, that's rare for these guys, for any film to, come together like that.
That's incredible. I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah. No, it's, that's why I always cherish this film for sure.
And it's my understanding that this was filmed completely on location. Is that correct? And what was that like?
Yeah, we shot in Sofia, Bulgaria. Fantastic crews, Millennium's crews. They did, Expendables and Olympus Has Fallen, all those films. So they're used to working together. But for us, I think it was great not being on a stage. When they're walking over boulders and walking through forest and whatnot, they're really doing that. But it also helped that I didn't have my family over there. They didn't, they didn't have their significant others or wives or kids, so we could all come together and we could be together on off days, and it just brought everybody closer, and it meant a lot. But also to actually be in these abandoned hospitals that were war torn hospitals that we shot in, the one open air area, and then there's been battles there. So it was a big deal to shoot. I mean, not that the World War II took place there, but there's other, it felt real as opposed to being on a stage. And it made it that much better for everybody.
That's incredible. I can just kind of imagine like how heavy things felt.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, for them to be in those uniforms and some of these actors, they brought Joe and a few others. I mean, they had patches that their grandfathers had worn in the war. So they wanted those sewn on,
Wow.
their uniforms, the stripes or whatever, and it changed who their character was. But I thought it was more important to like be true to, them and to honor their family. So whether it was patches or like this, story about, if this character, didn't get home, then, one of these actors, their grandfather got to, their their grandfather made it home and, to be there for the birth of their dad. It was important, so
Mm.
these backstories are real backstories of our actors.
That's insane. For sure. Um, Unfortunately, I think that I'm about out of time. But is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, it's just I think this is, the timing is right for this story. And, we're kind of there's not too many World War II vets that are still around, that, experience this. I mean, they're all getting up there in their 80s and 90s, and, it's so this is, you know, I think it's just a great story that just needs to be told, and it's one that we can all come together, no matter, you know, politics, religion, or whatever it is. That, we all have one goal, and it's to, for these soldiers to complete their mission and survive. And I think it's just a cool story that needed to be told, and I'm glad that I was able to tell it.
For sure. Well, again, I loved it. So thank you for making it. And I'm really excited to see what everyone else has to say about it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, getting the word out.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Uh, you have a great rest of your day.
You too. All right. Bye.
Bye.